Hey, internet. Let me fix the camera a bit. Like that. That should be good. You see me? Yeah. Okay. Maybe like this. Okay. So, there's a bit of a teaser right there, but I made some pickups over this recent holiday period. And actually, let me backtrack a bit. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying healthy. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and happy holidays to everyone who doesn't celebrate that, or everyone who celebrates other things. Happy New Year as well to you, your families. Hope everyone's doing good, and just, as best we can with all these Omicron things. And anyways, that's not the point of the video. The point is I want to talk a bit about the stuff over there that I picked up, and some stuff that I picked up recently today relating to that stuff. Maybe a more in-depth review of that stuff at some later point. But anyways, without further ado, so I picked up something quite nice. Ooh, cameraception. So this, for those of you who do know, this is the Nintendo Switch OLED model, OLED. LED is light emitting diode, but organic? I think it's organic. Okay, anyways, OLED, the big difference is that the colors are much more saturated, you could say. They're much more vibrant. The blacks are truly black because the pixels shut off, and the whites are the brightest whites you'll ever see on any type of display, comparatively speaking, between OLED, LED, LCD, plasma. Oh, that's old, but those kinds of things. So a lot of people have kind of said, like, oh, is it worth it to get an OLED model? I'm going to echo the statements of a lot of others. If you don't have a Switch, then go for the OLED. It's no questions about it. Go for the OLED. Unless you're tight on cash and you want to get the cheapest Switch experience, and you don't care about connecting to the TV at all, like ever, like you only will play on your device, you don't even own a TV, go with the Lite. But there are just so many disadvantages to it that I think you should overall go for the OLED. Those disadvantages mainly being inferior battery life, like drastically inferior. We're talking 2 to 3 hour differences on some games, which is huge. Like, imagine if you can only play for 3 hours. Sure, who's going to sit for 3 hour sittings playing a video game? Not too many. But if you do want to play longer than that, you're going to have to stay plugged in, and the port is on the bottom, which means you have this cable dangling down here like that, like a little life support cable, and it's just not nice. Another thing about that's bad about the Lite is, it's turning into a rant about the Lite. Okay. Actually, let's backtrack it a bit. Why do I know so much about the Lite? Why am I talking about the OLED? So what happened was, not too long ago, I was interested in the Switch. I still am, obviously. And I decided, okay, I want to get a Switch. Luckily for me, the Switch Lite Dialga and Palkia Special Edition, probably a picture somewhere here, that actually was available for me to order online. So I went and I ordered it, and I thought, it's going to be special edition one. It looks pretty nice, looks more premium than the standard models because it had that really nice, like, metallic gray with black buttons combo. So it just looked really nice overall. But when I got it, I was actually fortunate enough to have that and this, and also be in Canada, which means I have really good return policies. So I was able to open and try out both side to side. I don't have any footage of that, but what I can tell you is that while the Lite is much lighter, play on words, I think overall inferior device because of the battery life that I already mentioned. The screen is significantly smaller too. If you look at just this screen over here, let's get this for you. It's about 7 inches or so. The Lite is about 5 inches. So 2 inches, 2 inches in this case make a big difference. I won't go into any of the humor there, but I personally think that, the screen size is just a big difference. And that's actually one of the things that kind of turned me off from the original Switch, which was how big the bezels are on it. I never understood why Nintendo went in that direction to make the chassis or the tablet portion of the unit so big, and then the bezels so thick as well, causing the screen to just look really stunted compared to it. The same thing occurs with the Lite, and so I think that's just something to be mindful of. The battery life, here's the other thing. So you may have heard of Joy-Con drift if you're already in the Switch marketplace or if you're considering the Switch. And it's basically this phenomenon or occurrence, fairly common, which impacts these Joy-Cons, these little joystick pieces. And basically what happens is that over time, due to certain usage, I've read a bit, I'm not an expert, you can go to elsewhere, but from what it sounds like, people who are kind of even who are rough with it, or maybe even just use it a lot, the joysticks will wear out quite quickly. They experience drifting, which is basically if you push in a direction and it just keeps going on and on and on, even though you're no longer pressing it and trying to trigger that direction. So that's something that can occur. And because the Switch Lite features a unibody design, which is normally good because it gives you more rigidity, feels like a very solid console that you can hold it on one end and not worry, that kind of thing, right? It also means that if a part fails, you either have to go and get a repair for the whole product, so you got to send your Switch away, you can't be playing, and there's no telling if that repair is going to even be a permanent fix, or if the issue is just going to occur again outside of your warranty period, and then you're SOL. So, and also you can't connect to the TV. And at first I thought that wasn't going to be an issue, but actually having had the opportunity to be able to go from handheld to TV, you know, especially if you have friends over and you're playing with people, it makes a really big difference. So again, summary of the message is, if you don't have a Switch and you're thinking about getting a Switch and getting into that Switch marketplace, get the OLED Switch. Skip the regular one, skip the Lite, unless money is a concern. If money is a concern, then go for the Switch Lite if you can do without TV. If you're absolutely sure that you're never going to play on the TV. But if you think for a second that you will be, then at least get the regular Switch. But if you're playing mostly handheld, the OLED, I would say, is vastly superior. If you have any local electronics stores, I would recommend going to take a look, and you can see that the OLED Switch features just a significantly superior screen compared to the two prior models. One, because it's larger, and two, because of that OLED. That just the colors pop. I was playing, what was it? So Spyro was a part of my childhood. Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, and I got the Spyro Reignited trilogy on this. So it's a remaster, or a recreation and a remaster of the 3 original Spyro games. 1, Ripto's Rage 2, and Year of the Dragon. That game looked beautiful, like beautiful on this screen. There's another game I played recently, which was Shin Megami Tensei 5, new to the series. I played Persona before, but it's something else. Like, it sounds dramatic. You might have heard other YouTubers talk about it, like, whoa, is it so much better and all that. It really is. Unless you've been using OLED for a while, like in your smartphones, like if you're like me and you've been using an iPhone, you don't have access to OLED. I didn't know that this existed. And I kind of feel like, you know, I would prioritize OLED over refresh rates in terms of screens. So like OLED is really, it's the real game changer, because everything looks so much more vibrant. And because we know that in real life things, you know, some things are very vibrant, I would say that this display makes things look more like real life in a way. Please, you know, don't take that out of context, because obviously some of these are game graphics and yeah. So I would say that ultimately though, the OLED screen does make a big difference. Some people have criticized, saying that the only reason it looks so vibrant compared to the regular Switch is because there's a setting in here only on the OLED model, which I believe is relating to the color space or something, and it's set to vivid. So basically, if you've ever used a TV before that has those different picture settings, and you can change from standard, cinema, sport, all that, or vivid, that's kind of what it's doing. It's causing all the colors to become more intensified. And for the games that I've played, it hasn't caused any distortion or strangeness. You know, it hasn't made the game look ugly, but that just could just be my preference. But personally, again, I will reiterate again, if you're in the market for a Switch, definitely go for the OLED. I get no kickback from Nintendo, but I think it's, having gone through the process of debating, do I want the Lite, do I want the regular one, all that kind of stuff, the OLED is really the way to go. So anyways, what I want to tell you about is some of these accessories that I picked up. And that's really the point of this video. So that was a huge preamble to explain how I got to this position. But anyways, I didn't see any reviews for this online, which is why I'm making this video now. And I picked up 2 items, and they are the Slim Grip and the Animal Grips. I'll go into a bit more detail, but let's start off. So where do you get these? I'm in Canada, and I picked it up in my local EB Games. EB Games, also Gamestop. I think they might have rebranded already. Oh, yeah, they did rebrand. Okay, so they're Gamestop now. Just like in the US, you know, the company that ride them to the moon, big stonks and all that. Yeah, that company. I'm generally not a big fan of EB Games / Gamestop. I've heard some bad things about their sales policies and, you know, like how they treat their workers and all that. That being said, my local GameStop, I would say, is very different. The staff there are very pleasant. I never feel really pressured to have to buy this or add that on. Like, you know, that's their job. They'll give that option there, but they're not pushy. And I would say they're actually pretty chill people, and they create a nice atmosphere in the store. So shout out to my local GameStop. You guys are doing great. Awesome. So anyways, these two items are actually GameStop in-house brand accessories. So this is their I think it goes either as Biogenic or here it's called Bio Essentials. This is Bio something. So this is what their in-house accessory brand. You'll see it. They make accessories for all sorts of things under this label, such as for other consoles, other controllers, or peripherals, or just pieces that you add on, so like a case or a cover. Now, these two in particular, I think they're great. I'm gonna start off with I'll start off with these animal grips. So as you can see, they feature these little covers for your Joy-Cons, and they come in two designs, which is dog and raccoon, right? Well, actually, no, it's a dog and a bear. I had a conversation with the staff there for a bit of some time when I was there, and we're pretty adamant that this is a raccoon, not a bear. So if anything, GameStop, you might want to rebrand this. It doesn't really look like a bear. Maybe a sun bear, but even then the colors should be inverted, but I digress. These are, I would say they're pretty good grips. I looked on Amazon first because I always like to compare prices, and you're paying about the same price, give or take $2-3. Yes, $2 to $3 is more than 10% of the price when you look at it, it's $12.99, but also you're getting it same day in the moment, and also they're cute animals as opposed to just generic colored ones. The packaging, I at first thought that I was going to be spending $12.99 for two little pieces of silicone or rubber, but in actuality, you get four, which, you know, double the value. Not really the best deal, but you know, double the value. You get two designs, and they feel pretty good. The advantage of these is that because the Joy-Cons analogs are so short and low set, when you move them, a slight movement can cause a very drastic movement in the game because of the angles. I don't want to get into the geometry and the physics of it, but basically all I'm going to say is that when you add on one of these little nubs, it allows you to be much more precise with your movements, and also gives you more positions to grab the or to grasp the nub from. So I would say that these are a must if you're playing the Switch, especially on handheld for long periods. It really makes a big difference in terms of QOL and just the overall experience. They're also pretty cute. I don't know how durable they are because I just got them, and I don't know if the white coloring is eventually going to darken or brown or yellow or whatever. I'll report back if it does, especially if it happens quickly. But overall, I'm really happy with those. The other accessory then that I want to talk about is the Slim Grip. So the Slim Grip here, this is really the main reason I wanted to make the video, because when I got the Switch OLED, I immediately went to Amazon and I went to Best Buy's website as well, searching for a case, you know, as everyone does. You buy this expensive electronic thing, then you want to find a case. And the first case I got actually was this Zelda case. You might have seen this. This is by RDS Industries. It is a zip case. You throw the Switch in there, then it has this piece right here that goes on top of the Switch screen so that even if you have no screen protector, it'll cover it, so when you close it, you don't end up damaging your precious Switch screen. But on top of that, it also doubles as a stand, so you can put the Switch here and play from the comfort of your case, so you don't have to worry about resting your Switch onto the surface that your case is sitting on, which could be potentially dirty or abrasive and potentially damage your Switch. You know, they think a lot, but one of the downsides to that is even if you were to charge it in here, it still obstructs the charging port, so, you know, not really. Anyways, not the most important thing, but this case is good on its own, but a case is only good, in my opinion, if it protects the device. And this case doesn't really do that if you're playing. I mean, you're not going to hold the thing. And, I mean, yeah, that's one thing about cases. Anyways, but the main reason why I got this case is, or the main thing I was looking for is a case that has a grip. And at least in Canada, some of the more famous players in the game, like Skull & Co. and Satisfy, I think it's called, they don't sell their items on Amazon in Canada yet. I think you can order directly from them, but looking at the shipping costs and then the prices, and because there's conversion involved from Canadian to USD, it just looked like a headache, and the prices were not very nice. And I did look online, and there were a few items that pop up. I think there's something from Jet Tech. They're pretty common on the Amazon space. They make a lot of iPad, iPhone, any popular electronic device. They make like like a TPU, those see-through plastic things that cover them. That's pretty common. But I read the reviews and they said it was pretty tight, and I think the entire part here was cut out for the stand, so that means that you only have half of the back protected, which I personally didn't like. So of all the options that I considered, this one was the best to me because it was only $14.99, making it the cheapest option that I had found. And as you can see, it envelops the entire back, that's right, even covers the kickstand, and features a bit of a folding part so that the kickstand can be opened and still be covered. Ooh, good job, Biogenic or Bio Essentials. The other great thing about this is that it is a grip case. So it has these, as you can kind of see, sideways. Ooh, that is thick. Yeah, it has these nice areas for your palms to grab. So when I first got the Switch and I started playing it in handheld mode, I love the design and all that, but I did find that I felt a bit of pressure and pain sort of in the palm. It could be because of the way I'm holding it. But I'm sure that other people will probably experience the same from holding such a thin device in that way for extended periods. And it really it detracts from the overall gaming experience. So I think the grips are also a game changer. Just like the grips for the analog nubs, the grips for the console itself make a big difference in terms of comfort and overall playability. Like, you could just sit here for hours and hours on end. Let me think if there's anything else here. Oh, and so actually this case pairs quite well with this Zelda case. Now, I haven't tested it extensively, but what I've seen is that this Zelda case has cutouts here. It could have been because maybe some people will use a comfort grip. I guess maybe they thought about that when they were making it, which is great. So as you can see here, lift it up, you can put the Switch in. It sits nicely on those little divots or those holes. Then you can put this cover over and it zips nice and easy. And you'll notice the highest point is kind of in the middle. That's because it bundles up where that piece of liner is, which is actually a bit reassuring to me, because that means if this is the highest point and that is actually taller than the Joy-Cons, then the Joy-Cons are receiving zero pressure from the case being kept closed by the zipper. So overall, it's not going to damage your system. I don't think so, which is great. Anyways, let me see. So yeah, this was the cheapest option. Also happened to be the best option. And interestingly, I didn't see it on the EV Games website. So that's something to consider if you're maybe wanting to get it from them, but you want to order it. I didn't see it at the time of me making this video, but maybe by the time you see it, it is available online. If so, I would consider it strongly. I think it's a great accessory. One of the cheapest and most accessible, at least for me or for anyone else in this area. The other thing I really liked, this is a complaint that I had and I've heard other people have, and which is that when you're playing the Switch, because it's actually multiple components attached together, specifically this main body, like a tablet, and then these two Joy-Cons, sometimes the rails exhibit a bit of shakiness or some creaking, and overall it can cause you to kind of doubt the structural integrity of the device. It might cause you to think it seems cheap, and overall it might detract from your experience. If you don't give half a hoot about it, then, by all means ignore this part of the video. But if you're like me and those kinds of things do bother you, like when you're holding something and it's creaking and it's making noises, and especially when you pay several $100s for it, that's something that bothers me. I don't like it, which is why I initially considered the Switch Lite, because it's unibody, one single piece. But with a case like this, it kind of gives it a bit more rigidity. Yeah, you could debate with me about it, like how much more rigidity are you getting from this kind of soft material? Not that much, but at the very least, you can't debate this. It envelops the Joy-Con and the body of the Switch uniformly. So when you run your finger, there's no little divot or groove that you normally find. It's one smooth piece. So it feels much more uniform. Doesn't solve the issue. You'd probably need sort of like a metal case to act as a brace or something, but yeah, overall, very happy with these two accessories. Strongly recommend them. I can't believe I'm recommending like in-house Gamestop brand accessories, but I really do recommend that you take a look. These are really, like, if you like different ones, different designs, if you don't feel this cute little looks a bit like a corgi or maybe even a Shiba Inu. If you don't like this dog or bear design, by all means find different grips, but I strongly recommend grips overall. And you want grips that have a bit of a concave curve to them, sort of like any just like the PlayStation grips. You see how when you put your thumb in, it sits into it? You want that kind of thing. It'll give you much more control, as opposed to the Nintendo Switch's default convex curve, which just doesn't work really well. I personally don't like that. So get yourself thumb grips if you have a Switch, especially if you're playing mostly with the Switch controllers. If you're playing with a Pro controller or one of those other third-party ones, like an actual physical one, I don't think you need it. That's a waste of money. But for this, because the Joy-Cons are a bit lacking, I'd recommend it. And for the case, which I think everybody should have a case of some sort, be it like the Zelda, you know, where you just store it in there and take it out, or like the OLED standard one. This one is great. The only downside, and this is a big one you should know about, you should consider, is that while it's in the case, it does not fit into the dock. So if you are someone who spends most of your time playing in docked mode, or you spend half of the time, at least half of the time playing in docked mode, you might want to consider something else. So I've never actually tried to take the Switch out of this case. I just got it today as well. But I can tell you that the bottom is a lot looser than the top. But what I do foresee is that frequent removal and reinsertion of the Switch into the case may cause this material to kind of stretch out over time, causing the seal and the fittage to be less than what it was originally. So I think this case is more for people who prefer handheld mode. I personally do. And it doesn't mean you can't connect to the TV anymore. If you have, I'm pretty sure you can use a generic USB-C to HDMI adapter and you can connect just like that. If you want the power component plus the USB accessibility, there are a lot of third-party dock options as well that literally just plug in and it's a hub and you just plug the other things into it. It isn't pretty. I know you want to use your white dock with your white Switch if you bought the OLED or the black one or whatever, but with this case, you won't be able to. But the benefits that it gives, considering that, I personally think it's worth it because I spend most of my time playing the Switch handheld. It's just, if you're getting the OLED Switch too, the OLED only applies to the handheld, obviously. It's not like if you buy the OLED Switch, it upgrades your TV. It's not a graphical processing unit. It's specifically the hardware on the screen. And it's just so nice that even though you could play on a bigger screen and maybe enjoy it, Switch games don't even run at such a high resolution. I think at most it's 1080p, but 720 on this screen is beautiful. That's the last thing I'll say. So I wrote off the Switch when it first came out because of that like really big blocky border and the tiny screen. I thought like this is just awful. And then the screen looked washed out and it's only 720p, that's junk. But with the OLED boosting the display quality, 720p is actually perfect for this. So often people, when they talk about resolutions, they might be very fixated on like, I want the biggest and the best, so I want the highest resolution possible, and that's going to make the best games. But we know with Nintendo, they always stick to like more tried and tested methods, hardware that isn't as powerful necessarily, but they focus more on the gameplay experience. And I realize now again that it doesn't really have any relevance to what I'm about to say, but even though it's 720p, because the screen is smaller, it's not that big of an issue. If we're talking about a standard size television, like about 40 inches or more, and it's at 720p and you're sitting 6 feet away or what's that, 2-3 meters away on a couch, you'll notice 720p versus 1080p versus 4K. It makes a big difference. But on a very small screen like this, 720p, it's not bad. Especially with these games being made specifically for the Switch, the games look excellent. And you're not streaming anything, so you're not getting like all these artifacts and pixelation. I don't even think you get pixelated artifacts anymore from streaming. That's such a 2010 thing, 2010 YouTube. But yeah, the fact that this is 720p and not 1080p or something, it's not an issue at all. It looks amazing. It looks really, really good. And like every single game I played Mario Odyssey. There's the, what else is there? Persona Strikers, Mario, the 3D Mario triple pack. All these games look so good on this display. And that's really, that's the main point about the Switch that I didn't think about and I didn't know when I went into this, but I realized as I've been using it over the past few weeks, and it's that I think the Switch is my favorite console of all time. There was a period of time before I got the Switch that I was trying to modify my, not modify, excuse me, I don't do that, where I was trying to get the most out of my, there it is, out of my older consoles. So for reference, I have a PSP over here, and I have a in the Persona Q Labyrinth. Got 3DS XL. And I was trying to get the most out of them, and you know, you can get a lot of games nowadays as long as you own them. Then you can re-download the ROMs, I think technically, legally, all that, right? And you can put in lots of storage, and it makes them really good retro gaming machines. But the graphics are really, really lacking in comparison to modern consoles. Like, you can't compare these to at-home consoles, you know, like PS4s, Xbox, and all that. But with the Switch, it's really interesting because it's primarily a handheld, but you can switch it into a docked mode, and so its power capability is much higher than the previous Nintendo handhelds. I know PSP's not, but like the 3DS XL. So essentially what you have is a portable, at a minimum, PS3, Xbox 360 level experience, with some of these games being able to kind of rival what you find on the PS4 and the Xbox One. Now, did I say, oh, you're getting PS4 graphics here? For the most part, no. I do own some games on both consoles, and it's noticeably different. If you dock this and you play it on the same TV and then switch to the desktop console looks way nicer. But, you know, graphics are only one component. If the game is fun, if the graphics pop, if the colors pop, if it's engaging, if you're enjoying the experience, you're not going to be that bothered that this screen that's 7 inches is not 1080p and that is only 720p. It's really not a big difference. But the sheer library available on the Switch is insane. There are so many games that I haven't played, like so there are a number of games that I haven't played. Like, I mean, what I'm talking about is just obviously I haven't played all these games. Wow, that's a lot of games. Thanks. So there's obviously a lot of games I haven't played just in general, so across all the systems that have existed. But two of the ones that were of interest to me are these two, Borderlands and BioShock. Heard about them, you know, the PS3, Xbox 360 era, but I never got around to playing them. Then I find out these games, not the single game, but the entire collection is available on the Switch. So essentially 6 games. Just like that. You can play portably, which is awesome because I've always liked the portable experience more than sitting at a desk, sitting on a couch and playing a video game there. It just seems so much more fun when you can kind of hold it and play it. That's just my take. And these aren't the only ones. You can also play, there was that Doom game that came out on, I think, Xbox One and PS4. The graphics all fiery. Picture, boom, that one. There's also Skyrim. I mean, Skyrim comes out for everything, but I haven't played Skyrim either. And that game's available on the Switch. Can you imagine? Like, back in the day, people played this on their PC or on their PS3, and they're like, oh, this was so cool. Oh my gosh. You can take it portably now. You could be on an airplane, a bus. You could be on the toilet. You can play Skyrim on the toilet. Like, that's the age we live in. What a wonderful time to be alive. But yeah, there's tons of games. For people who like nostalgia, like, okay, bad example. Okay, here. For people who like nostalgia, you know, old classic games, remastered, brought into the HD era. I don't really consider 720p HD, but HD era, and it looks really nice on that screen. Boom, you got that. Classic, always pulling the wrong games. Classic games from your childhood, potentially. 64, Sunshine, Galaxy. All those games are on the Switch. And the library is huge. There's a guy on YouTube as well. I think he's called Handheld Gamer. He posts a bunch of videos of him just playing the Switch Lite with his whole entire library of games. It's just amazing how many games there are. And these games span so many generations. I know people generally complain, oh, you know, companies are lazy, they re-release games. But to re-release it so it's accessible on a console, so that you can have a home console experience on the go, portably, whenever you want, where you want, like, that's amazing. And of course, you know, the Switch itself has a number of excellent games, some of which include, like, this game, which I heard looks beautiful on OLED. Haven't played it yet. I'll get around to it eventually. Another very beautiful game. Not limited to just the Switch, but beautiful game. Creative games. Really creative games. A personal favorite. I'm big Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 fan, so more 1 than 2. Everyone who plays knows that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 was much better than Ultimate Alliance 2. X-Men Legends. X-Men Legends, if you know, drop a comment. That's the only time I'm ever asking for a comment. X-Men Legends 1 and 2. Age of Apocalypse. Favorite character. Favorite character is probably, I don't know. Back then I played a lot of Iceman, but favorite character now probably would be Colossus. I just love the big strong guys. And oh, how could I not talk about this game? I think this game needs a review of its own, but amazing. Actually amazing. So that's super cool. What else did I grab? Oh, these little accessories. I bought these off Amazon too. So these are like the clear TPU thermopolyurethane, a thin coating that kind of maintains its shape pretty well. You can wrap it around. Good and bad. The good thing is that these ones can detach with the Joy-Cons, so I could use it with the dock, but because they're clear, they do get fingerprinty very quickly, and it shows, and the overall feel feels really gross. I took these off. I think I need to wash them and then clean them up, and maybe I'll use them again, but with this current case, the Slim Grip from Gamestop probably won't. They came with this cover, which is made of a different material. It's like a somewhat flexible plastic. This thing sucks. It's advertised as being able to be on the Switch, gives you a bit of superficial protection from scratches, and then you can dock it, but actually it doesn't fit into the dock. So to the people who made this, please change your listing, please correct it. It does not fit in the dock when this is on. This thing will get stuck. I saw a photo of somebody who tried to put it in and it looked like it was just sitting lopsided. So that photo, yeah. So no, this is not a great buy. You can get these on their own. This is pretty good, especially if you like sharing your console with others. Like you want to here, player 1, player 2, that kind of thing. That way, at least you can try and keep it clean. Especially if it's a white Switch. I think it's more prone to getting dirty. But okay, you know what? It's a Switch video, so we're gonna talk about other things too.
Here's the last accessory.
Back. Here's the last accessory I picked up. This is the Power A. What's it say? It's over. Wired controller. Power A Pokemon wired controller. At first, I thought this was just some ugly Christmas print that they were trying to push out and clear for after Christmas, but actually, it's got little Pikachu symbols and a Pokeball symbol, and it looks a lot like an Xbox 360 controller. This was on sale for 25 bucks, and for one day only, it was on sale for 20. So you bet I went and price matched it to get my $5 back, or $5 plus tax. So that's what, 60 cents or so. $5.60, yeah, $5.60 back. This is great. At that price, $19.99, I don't know where you're gonna find a modern day controller for $19.99. Okay, yeah, it is wired only, which means you have to be plugged in, and because the Switch itself doesn't feature any kind of port like that, without any adapter at least, you can't plug it directly into the Switch, so you can't use it in like dock mode and sit there and play. But generally, if you're playing handheld, you're not going to want to do that anyways, unless you have a game that is really particular. What else? Cable's really long. It lacks any sort of rumble feature. So if you don't even care about that to begin with, and I personally don't, unless I'm playing maybe like a first-person shooter where I want that feedback, I don't care about rumble. So this is a perfect controller for me. If you need rumble in your controllers, if you need a wireless controller, stay far away from this, because this doesn't have any of that. But if you don't care, this is a go. Power A is one of Nintendo's authorized accessory dealers. Them, RDS, Hori. I can't speak about those guys' products in terms of controllers, but at least with Power A, from what I've experienced with this particular wired controller, and from what I've seen online about their wireless controllers, which happen to be, mind you, cheaper than Nintendo's in-house Pro controller, they are pretty good. So as long as you're shopping at a place where, you know, there's a lot of good consumer protection, I'd say take the plunge, take the risk. It's not like it used to be back in the day when we had GameCubes as the main console, and there was that company, I think Mad Cats, you know, Mad Cats, which made trash accessories that didn't connect properly or had big time severe joystick drift, and it just sucked overall. Nowadays, these officially licensed third-party accessories are pretty solid, so I recommend that as well. But yeah, so from what began as just a video about this accessory that I really liked from Gamestop, it's actually made its full way into a full-on, I got a Switch and here are my thoughts on the Switch OLED. So let me think if there's any closing thoughts. Well, I'm really happy with this purchase. I'm much happier with it than I had expected. Because again, I'll rehash. I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna get like I'll get the Switch Lite and that'll be good, right? But no, I'm really happy with this because it looks so much better. And I did actually do a side-by-side test. I unfortunately don't have any footage, so you're gonna have to trust me on this. But basically, the Switch Lite looks significantly smaller, and the colors were just so dull, and they looked washed out. I think they had a bit of a yellow hinge to them. Yellow tint, excuse me. A yellow tint to them, and it was night and day. This is just so much better. So, if you're in the market to get a Switch OLED, all the way. In terms of accessories, if you don't care much about docked mode, play mostly handheld mode, live in Canada, looking for a good cheap kit, this one is so nice. Am I telling you to copy my setup? I mean, isn't copying and imitation a form of flattery or whatever? I personally don't care. It's not like we're all gonna walk out one day and, you know, holding the same Zelda case. I think this is a nice case. RDS makes other designs as well. I think there's like different variants of this, so it comes in different colors. This is like a pseudo leather kind of material, not real. So if you like leather but you don't like harming animals, then boom, you win. Okay, actually maybe do your research. I'm not sure if for this price it can't be real. There are also other cases made by RDS that have like a fabric kind of material, like a felt, so there's that too. Other brands make accessories, also officially licensed Nintendo accessories, so I think Hori, they have those like sling bags. There's Power A also makes some cases, so there's tons, but if you're gonna get this and you want a case for it, I happen to know these two work together, so that's great. And in terms of the library, like I was saying again, broken. Oh man. Oh, okay. Sorry, that distracted me. But there are so many games for this console, not only physical but downloadable. And so the library that you're potentially accessing is just enormous. And I think this is for me when it comes to gaming. Video games have been a huge part of my life. So I foresee it to be a hobby that will stick with me until the day I return to the earth. Okay. Return to the dirt. But until then, I'm gonna game as hard as I can. And it's really nice to be able to just game whenever. I think that convenience factor cannot be understated when it comes to comparing like home consoles, even PC gaming, to a portable like this. Because sure, you could have superior graphics. You could play the best games at the highest resolutions, at the highest frame rates for obscene amounts of money. But one, yeah, that's going to cost you a lot. And two, those are usually really fixed. You'll have to sit at your desk. You have to have a good monitor set up and all of that. You'll need expensive components and good peripherals so that you get the most out of it. You want to position it in a certain way. And sure, you know, that's great. Or, you know, those are difficulties you're going to face too. But you can only play when you're there. With this, yeah, I'll take a slight hit to the graphics. The display is high quality. I'm getting a really good display for the money. The library of games, some of these games aren't even available on PC or other consoles. So I'm getting great games too, and I can play them wherever, whenever. And I think that's the huge point. So, yeah, if you were to get the Switch, I've said it like 5-6 times now, Nintendo should be paying me some sort of royalty at this point. But if you're getting the Switch, OLED Switch all the way. I don't know. Oh, one last thing. I don't know because there are rumors right now that, oh, Nintendo's going to release a more powerful Switch, a 4K capable Switch. I don't know how valid those rumors are. You go do your research, do your own due diligence when you're considering this purchase. But if it is worth considering, what I can tell you is when we look at Nintendo's history, let's go through a quick brief history, right? How do they operate? Well, you got the Game Boy, than a Game Boy Pocket or something, so it's a bit smaller, a bit slimmer. They had the capability, they shrank it down, made it more portable. Game Boy Color, now they add color, a bit more processing power. And then I think maybe I'm skipped Game Boy Light, only in Japan, so now we add a light, certain features, but performance is not really changing. You're getting the same kind of game. Next generation jump, Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance, that wide one, leads to the Game Boy Advance SP. So that is a big jump. But again, that's more features, not performance. All games are backwards compatible. So all you're getting is now a different form factor. Flippy. I have that actually. Just kidding. It's not here right now, but I have the next stage of that. So Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, Game Boy Advance SP, different version that has a better screen. Game Boy Micro, even better screen, but super tiny for some reason, so you can like slip it into your little tiny jean pocket. Then they make the next jump to the Nintendo DS, where they go for a downgrade in the screen. Then they make the DS Lite, so you got the, right here, DS Lite. Brighter screen, thinner form factor. Now here's the point I want to stop you at. DS Lite to DSi, what's the difference? The difference is the DSi screen is a bit better, I think. Yeah, a bit bigger, and the performance has a slight increase, meaning that now, if you don't have the DSi, you have the DS Lite, there are certain software titles you can't play, but the number is so small that it's negligible, so who cares? Let's jump to the next generation. 3DS. So the original 3DS came out, followed by the 3DS XL and the 2DS. All three had the same processing power. Then Nintendo decided to release the new Nintendo 3DS and the new Nintendo 3DS XL. The difference is that, yeah, there was some 3D improvements and all that, but there was, again, a slight power increase. Were the graphics astonishingly better? No. Did any existing 3DS games look a lot better on the new console? No. Higher resolutions? No. I think it was just a few games like Hyrule Warriors where the frame, or you couldn't play that particular title, that Minecraft, on the old 3DS line because of the processing power differences. But generally, from a software developer point of view, or a software company, you don't want to make software that is only accessible on a small, like sort of niche group of hardware, because that means it's going to affect your potential revenue or your sales. Instead of selling to everybody, you basically alienate your product from the market and only sell it to some. So therefore, it's of my belief, and the belief of many others, that it's in the best interest of these software companies to continue to sell games that can be played on all. Now, that may or may not be the case, because when you look at Sony, PS4, PS5, right? They have something called, like, it can be played on both. So if it is compatible on both and features an enhanced mode, like with the PS4, PS4 Pro, and the PS5, which, you know, they do give better performance on those games, that is something to consider, but that isn't Nintendo's track record. So, would I bet on it? Well, I'm not a betting man. But my educated guess is that if Nintendo does release a successor to the Switch, and it's still the Switch, you know, not like a Game Boy Advance to DS jump, but a Switch to a more powerful Switch, the new Nintendo Switch, right? I don't think it's going to be that big of a jump. I don't think you're going to suddenly get 4K and then like 1440p portable mode. It just doesn't seem like the same console anymore. There might be a minor spec bump. Maybe you can play slightly more demanding games, but looking at the games that we already have, especially because this can run Hyrule Warriors, which is like I could be talking on my butt, but I think it's like a Dynasty Warriors kind of game where you're just fighting hordes of enemies, so there's lots of stuff on the screen, just like Strikers. I don't think it's going to be that big of a jump. But again, I haven't done my research. That's just my theory based on Nintendo's history and kind of what I anticipate. Because again, if they do release something totally new and it plays certain games and those games aren't playable in the old one, that might alienate people in the market, and that's just going to hurt companies' revenues, software companies' revenues. So anyways, this video is way longer than I expected it to be. I hope you found it sort of useful. I hope that I don't cause you to decide to spend obscene amounts of money on the Switch, but if you're already considering it, again, 7th, 8th time, Nintendo, come on, give me that royalty. Switch OLED all the way. Switch OLED is the way to go. And consider some of these accessories. This one I really want to shout out. Again, not affiliated with GameStop in any way. It's more so that this, I haven't seen a single picture of it online, or at least on YouTube. So, you know, maybe this algorithm. Check this out. This is great. And this is pretty good. Not the best, not perfect by any means, but you know, It's a cute Shiba Inu corgi and you know, at first, TBH, I thought that the bear was a butt. See it? Kind of. Maybe because it's like a toilet seat. I don't know. I thought it was quite interesting. Yeah, there you have it. It's my thoughts on the entire Nintendo Switch OLED accessories. If you have any questions, as usual, I do my best to try and answer the questions that you posit. Any comments that you have, feel free to share. If you're an X-Men Legends fan, a Marvel Ultimate Alliance fan, then drop a comment. Tell me your favorite character. Tell me your favorite squad. I'd love to hear that. Man, that game is so nostalgic. X-Men Legends, like was it Optic Rage, Savage Rampage? If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, yeah, hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, bye-bye.